On today's show, the Cleveland Cavaliers set a franchise record by winning their 9th straight game to open up the season. They beat the Pelicans 131 to 122. Let's talk about all of it right here on Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my new Substack, The Inside Shot, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Magazine, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Say some nice words. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. Also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Click subscribe. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Also want to let you know, Locked On Cavs now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter. It's your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. Cavs are 9-0. They've got the best record in the NBA. They are the only undefeated team left in the NBA. This is officially the best start in franchise history after the Cavs beat the Pelicans on Wednesday night, 131 to 122 in New Orleans. And this was a game that, again, I don't think the Cavs were at their best, which is crazy to say because they went out and they scored 133 points or 131 points, excuse me. The fact that I can say, I kind of felt like this team sleptwalk through the first half a little bit. They came out flat. They didn't have certainly a very good first quarter where they were trailing early and they needed a big run sparked by Ty Jerome in the second quarter to get back in the game. And then you look at the box score at the end of the night and they scored 130 plus points. Like this Cavs team, same roster for the most part. I know Ty Jerome didn't play last year because of injury, but for the most part, same roster as last year. They scored 130 points 4 times last season. They have scored 130 plus points 4 times this season in 9 games. That is incredible. It's a drastic turnaround from what they were offensively last season. I thought that was on display again tonight because one of the best parts about Wednesday night's game for the Cavs was that it wasn't one guy. And Donovan Mitchell is the guy who I'll probably talk about as player of the game coming up a little bit later on in the show. But they had 6 guys that scored in double figures. If you looked at halftime, it was 3 guys had 14 points. I think Darius had 14, Jarrett Allen had 14, Donovan Mitchell had 14, or maybe that was at the end of the third quarter. And then Donovan goes for 15 in the fourth quarter to get to 29. But it was a little bit of everybody. Like I thought Caris LeVert was fantastic on Wednesday night. Ty Jerome had a huge second quarter. That was a really big deal at that point in the game for the team. I thought Jarrett Allen was really good. I thought Darius Garland, I know he didn't score a ton of points, but he handed out, I believe, 8 or 9 assists. He was really good again tonight. The Cavs are getting this done in a number of different ways. And that is what is most encouraging to me about this start for this team. As for Wednesday night's game in particular, I didn't think the start of the game was I know they got off to an 8-0 start. Darius Garland hit a 3. Donovan Mitchell hit a 3. They got off to a quick start, but then they had a very mediocre to bad rest of the first quarter, I think it's fair to say, where I think they trailed by as many as 12. It just they didn't have the energy or the juice that you would normally expect to see from this Cavs team. And maybe part of that can be attributed to, and I was watching on TV, so I can't speak to what it was actually like in that building, but it seemed like it was a little bit of a sleepy environment. It didn't seem like the Smoothie King Center down there in New Orleans was completely filled. Let's just say that. I don't think it was the most raucous crowd the Cavs will play in front of all season long. And the other part of this too this was their 9th game in 15 days. I do think their legs are probably getting a little heavy because they've not had back-to-back days off yet. They won't have back-to-back days off for, I think, another couple of weeks, really, or at least another 10 days until that happens. So I do think that we're starting to see the effects of that. But the Cavs being able to overcome a slow, sloppy, maybe flat is the best way to describe it, first half, with the third quarter that they had where they outscored the Pelicans. I think it was 40-29 in the third quarter. They were awesome. I'll talk about the play that sparked that coming up later on in the show, but they woke up at halftime, and what they were able to do on both ends of the floor in the third quarter was really impressive because, yes, scoring 40 points, anytime you do that in a quarter, you're going to look at what you did offensively and say, okay, did a lot of really good things there. But I thought in that quarter, it started on the defensive end. I thought the Cavs started getting stops, and they were able to get out in transition. They were able to run. New Orleans, not a very good transition defense team. And I understand that the Pelicans are missing a few key players, and Zion missed a chunk of this game. I don't think he played in the entire second quarter. He committed a foul near the end of the first and went into the locker room and didn't play again until after halftime, which was a little weird. So I get all of that. But this was a game that, I talked about a couple of statement wins that I thought the games against Milwaukee were. I thought the Lakers game was. I thought the Knicks game was. And I also talked about taking care of business wins, like that Magic win without Paolo Banchero playing for Orlando. The first 3 games of the year against Toronto, Detroit, and whoever the third one was against. I can't remember. It's slipping my mind right now. Oh, Washington. Those are taking care of business wins. I think this one falls into the taking care of business category, but for the first half, the Cavs didn't take care of business. Like, they were tied at halftime at 59, and if they had their A game, I don't think that would have been the case. I don't think that would have been the case, but they were able to find it, at least for a long enough stretch in the third quarter, that they could pull out in front and then make it so they didn't have to be perfect down the stretch. Although I thought Donovan Mitchell in the fourth quarter was really, really good in his, scoring 15 of his 29 points in that final quarter. I thought he was awesome there, but the Cavs didn't need some heroic performance because this was a game that I look at as one of the more complete team wins. It wasn't one of the best played games that they've had, but just the number of contributions they got from different guys on the roster, I thought that this was a total team win. I don't necessarily, and I will have a player of the game, but I don't know that this player of the game has as much stock as a player of the game, when Donovan Mitchell hits a buzzer beater, when Darius Garland goes off for 39 points. Like, I don't think all of these player of the game awards that I give out on a nightly basis are created equally. I don't. I thought they were woken up either at halftime or with Jarrett Allen's block. When he had the block at the start of the third quarter, I think it was Misi, he blocked right at the rim. I think that woke the Cavs up. And I think the Cavs were in a position where they sort of needed to be woken up. And I understand why. I totally get it. But it was great to see them be able to respond because not every half of basketball that you play is going to be great. Think back to that third quarter the Cavs played against the Bucks on Monday night. That was by far the worst quarter they have played of basketball all season long, but they've responded to it perfectly. Where Darius Garland had a great fourth quarter against Milwaukee. The Cavs, I thought, had a lousy first half on Wednesday night, and then they respond to it with an excellent third quarter. That is such a refreshing thing to see from this team because I think it does give confidence that, at some point, not everything is going to go this team's way. It's not. It's way too long of a season for that, right? They might win all 82, I guess, at this point. But the way that this team has responded to little tiny drops of adversity, nothing major, like a bad third quarter, I think is kind of adversity, but it's not like a big deal in the big picture of an NBA season. But the way that the Cavs so far have responded to these little tiny instances of adversity, like the first half on Wednesday night, has been one of the most impressive things about the start to the season for the Cavs. Because when things have not gone their way, it's very easy to say, you know what? It's not our night. Because over the course of 82 games in the NBA season, there are going to be nights that are not their nights. But the Cavs have, whatever they've been able to do, they have been able to find a way to push past that. I think tonight very easily could have been one of those not our night type of nights. New Orleans, Pedro Jose Alvarado came in to tonight's game, and he was shooting like 33% from three on the season. He hit 7 threes tonight. You look at Saturday and even Monday and Saturday, for instance, the Bucks entered that 2-game stretch against the Cavs 28th in 3-point shooting percentage. They were on fire for both of those games. So the Cavs have actually gotten a little unlucky with shot variance by their opponents, and they've still found a way to win. And that, to me, is a very, very impressive thing that we've seen from this Cavs team. I thought what we saw in Donovan Mitchell was impressive in the second half, but I thought the most impressive part of tonight was that it was a complete team effort by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell led the way, but there were other guys I was impressed with that I think deserve to be talked about. So we're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Skims. You might be wondering, Skims, really? Well, Skims does make underwear for men. And when I found out about it, I was pretty excited because I trusted that it would be a good product. And over the last few weeks, Skims has sent underwear to me. And I have worn the Skims underwear. And I have to say, this is our little secret. It's going to stay right here. The Skims men's underwear is the best underwear that I have ever worn. I'm not making this up. I'm not reading this off of a script. I am telling you that because it's the truth. It has been my favorite pair of underwear, and I've worn a lot of different kinds of underwear, a lot of different brands of underwear in my life. Skims underwear has been the best that I've had. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's the feel is terrific. It is so comfortable. The 5-inch boxer brief that comes, it's a stretchy material. It's great. It's comfortable. It's really, truly the best underwear that I've worn in my life. So as you know, I am somebody that I like to move around. I like to pretend that I can still be an athlete that I once was. So that's the type of underwear that I'm looking for. And this it allows me to have that feel while also having the comfort that I'm looking for, because no one wants to be wearing a pair of underwear that they're uncomfortable in. Skims does not let you do that. Trust me. I'm telling you, it is the best underwear that I have worn in my entire life. So what you need to do if you want to get some of this great underwear I'm talking about, shop Skims Men at skims.com. That's SKIMS.com. Let them know that we sent you, Locked On Cavs, Locked On NBA. So after you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family too, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. That's also available at skims.com. So what you have to do, go to skims.com, check out Skims Men. You're going to be happy if you do it. And let them know that Locked On Cavs sent you. So when you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. It's the best underwear that I've worn. I can assure you, you will enjoy it. So head on over to skims.com today. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave a nice review as well. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed to the Locked On Cavs podcast. Also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content coming your way. So Donovan Mitchell had a great fourth quarter. He finished 10 of 20 from the field, finished with 29 points, 15 came in the fourth quarter. He was really good down the stretch. There were moments where I thought he looked good. There were other moments where I thought, you know what, this might not be Donovan's night. And I think that speaks to just how good of a player Donovan is, that there can be moments where I'm sitting watching this game thinking this just might not be Donovan's night. I think he had 14 points after the third quarter, and then he is capable of exploding and having a great fourth quarter and making sure, I don't want to say leading the Cavs to victory, but slamming the door shut on any potential comeback attempt by the Pelicans, I think is probably a little bit of a better way to describe it. I thought Jarrett Allen was fantastic tonight. He was defending Zion Williamson is not an easy thing to do. And it's an even more difficult thing to do, I think, when the whistle is being called the way the whistle was being called on Wednesday night. Evan Mobley fouled out with 6 fouls. I'm not positive that all of them were on Zion Williamson, but I know at least a few of them were. Jarrett Allen had 4 or 5 fouls. I don't have the box score in front of me, but he had 4 or 5 fouls. Almost all of those came defending Zion Williamson. Zion, I believe, shot as many free throws on Wednesday night as the Cavs did as a whole. That's hard to do. Zion got to the rim a ton, but I do think the Cavs did about as well as they could have defending him, given the way the whistle was going. It's a tough ask when he is getting calls. Some of them were legit. Some of them I thought were a little bit weak, but that can be a tough ask. I thought Jarrett Allen did a good job. Thought he rebounded the basketball well, defended the rim, had a couple of blocks. I mean, the one block that he had in the third quarter is really the thing that I think ignited this Cavs team on Wednesday night. I don't think that they say that play ends up being a dunk on Jarrett Allen instead of a Jarrett Allen highlight reel block shot. I could see this game going differently. I think that play meant that much to this team that didn't have a great first half. I thought that it brought their spirits up. Like I said, I thought it ignited them. I thought it led to really great offense on the other end. And I thought that it kept the fire for them going defensively, which can be a really big deal. Ty Jerome deserves a shout out too. He was really, really good in that second quarter. The Cavs went on a 17-2 run in the second quarter. Ty Jerome was a big part of it. He had 11 points all in the second quarter on Wednesday night, hit a 3, hit a layup, did a lot of little things right. The Cavs don't win this game without Ty Jerome. They don't. He had, I thought, a significant impact on the win for the Cavs because he was that good in the second quarter. And it is such a luxury for Kenny Atkinson and this Cavs coaching staff to have someone like Ty Jerome on the roster that's available to play the minutes that he's available to play. They're never going to ask him to play 30, 35 minutes a night unless somebody gets hurt, and they shouldn't be asking him to do that. But the fact that he can come off the bench, play 16 minutes, had 11 points, 5 assists, and what that does more than anything is it allows Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell to not have to play as many minutes. Darius Garland played 30 minutes. Donovan Mitchell played 34 minutes. If Ty Jerome's not available or Ty Jerome doesn't have the type of night that he had, those minute totals might be a little bit higher. And that's been a constant throughout the season is those guys have not had to play as much because Ty Jerome has been able to handle things. And Craig Porter Jr. played a little bit. He had a stint in the first half that went well, finished with 5 points in 5 minutes. If you get that from Craig Porter Jr., you feel really good about things. So I do think Ty Jerome deserves some credit for the way that this night went because that 17-2 run, it put them back in the game. It didn't take control of the game the way the run in the third quarter did, but it put the Cavs back in the game. After trailing by double digits, the Pelicans got hot at the end of the first quarter, I guess in the middle of the first quarter, because I did think the Cavs closed the first quarter relatively well. But Ty Jerome settled them down and really put them in a place to where it went from a game that, okay, they're really going to need to dig deep to win it in the second half to a game that was tied at halftime. So credit is absolutely due there. Darius Garland, I thought was really good. And I thought Darius Garland being really good is going to look different on different nights. Darius Garland being really good against the Bucks on Monday night was 39 points and 7 3-pointers. Darius Garland being really good on Wednesday night against the Pelicans was 14 points and 9 assists. He hit 4 threes. He didn't take a ton of shots. I do like that, of his 10 shots, 6 of them were threes. Like if 60% of his field goal attempts are going to be 3-pointers, I think that's going to be a really, really good thing for the Cavs. But I thought that and he had the one play late where I believe it was Karis LeVert found after he had the fake dribble, the Chris Paul move, that's the guy that I attribute that move to. Like when I think of that fake pass into a dribble that he pulled as he was crossing half court, I think of Chris Paul. He pulled that and it got, I think it was Karis LeVert, an open layup right at the rim. It's like, okay, this guy, he's got the goods, man. This version of Darius Garland is a different guy than who played for the Cavs last year. It just is. Darius Garland, even he had plenty of games last season where he had 14 points and even 9 assists. But I think that the impact that Darius Garland is having on a night-to-night basis for this team is so much different. It's so much significantly better than what it was last season. Darius Garland is really, really good again, and that is such a treat to watch. Just because he when he's playing with the joy that he has said he is playing with, he's such a fun basketball player, and that's what we're seeing from Darius Garland right now. So those guys deserve credit. I think Caris LeVert was awesome, had 16 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. Cavs had 33 assists on the night on 52 made baskets. That is a great percentage. They're sharing the basketball. They're playing offensively. It's not heliocentric in the least bit. Like, this does not revolve around Donovan Mitchell. It's so refreshing to see how this offensive system works. And I think if you just go look up and down at the assist totals, that tells a story. Evan Mobley had 3. Isaac Okoro had 3. Jarrett Allen had 2. Darius Garland had 9. Donovan Mitchell had 3. George Niang had 2. Caris LeVert had 6. Ty Jerome had 5. That's awesome. That means everybody's touching the basketball. Everybody's making plays for each other. That is the beauty of where the Cavs are at offensively right now. And that is a big reason why they're the only undefeated team in the NBA. It's why they're off to the best start in franchise history. It's why Kenny Atkinson is the first head coach in NBA history to begin a stint with a new team with 9 consecutive wins. Credit to him. Congratulations to him for that. I've already talked about the play of the night, but we're going to show you the play of the night, talk about it a little bit more, and player of the game coming up next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. I've been telling you about FanDuel Sportsbook for quite a while because it is America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, NBA, when baseball's going on, all in one place. NHL too, I suppose. Hockey season, it is happening. I'm not watching hockey, but it is happening. If you are watching it, FanDuel Sportsbook, place you should be going. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, like we just talked about, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Where is that page? That page is the FanDuel Sportsbook. So head on over to FanDuelSportsbook.com right now, or FanDuel.com, the FanDuel Sportsbook. But head on over right now, and if you are a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's a pretty good deal. Maybe there's something with the Cavs that you like. We talked prior to the season about the Cavs maybe being the winners of the Central Division. The Milwaukee Bucks were the favorites. Well, now the Cavs are minus 290 to win the Central Division. Not great odds there. They have jumped up in the Eastern Conference, though. If you recall, I believe they were like plus 1,600 to win the Eastern Conference before the season. That's up to plus 750. They're only behind Boston, only behind New York right now. It's moved. It's moved in a good way. FanDuel is starting to believe in the Cavs. They are starting to believe in the Cavaliers as a contender in the Eastern Conference. And if you're believing in the Cavs as a contender in the Eastern Conference, you might want to go place a wager over at FanDuel Sportsbook. So like I said, you can get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just head on over to FanDuel.com today. That's FanDuel.com today. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review as well. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. If you're watching this video right now on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. So play of the night is a play I've been talking about a little bit. I thought it was Jarrett Allen's block. It was in the third quarter. Cavs were down by 2. Just over a minute into the third quarter, Allen gets beat off the dribble by Zion, which, that's a tough thing to do. But then he transitions into being the help defender and just absolutely rejects a dunk attempt at the rim. That was a moment that I thought ignited the Cavs for what they wanted to do defensively. They needed a spark, and sometimes you do need a spark. I thought this block by Jarrett Allen was the spark that they needed. I did. I thought they needed that. They were then able to get going offensively and really never looked back. I mean, the Pelicans made a couple of runs in this game, But this is a game that I'm not sure the Cavs win unless this specific play happens. That sounds crazy to say because it's a 2-point difference. But just emotionally, what that type of play can do for a basketball team, what I thought that type of play did for the Cavs on Wednesday night, I thought it was a really big deal. Player of the game, I will give to Donovan Mitchell, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, did it on 50% shooting, had a great fourth quarter. The Pelicans did make a couple of runs in the fourth. I think they got it as close as 5 points down the stretch, but every time New Orleans scored, started making a push, Jose Alvarado hit another 3-pointer. Donovan Mitchell just had an answer. He did. He is, and I do think it's really cool. Monday night, we saw Darius Garland be the closer, and it was a different situation because the Cavs had to come back from behind in that fourth quarter. But we saw Darius Garland be the closer on Monday night, and we saw Donovan Mitchell be the closer on Wednesday night. And when you go into a game, I don't think we know who's going to be the closer. And I think that is something that makes the Cavs an incredibly dangerous basketball team right now. They are very tough to beat. No one has done it. I can't wait for Friday night's game. The Golden State Warriors are playing excellent basketball right now. On Wednesday night, they went into Boston and won that game. They're 7-1. Warriors have gotten off to a 5-0 road start for the first time since 2015, 2016. Cavs fans probably remember how that season ended. The Warriors did lose their last game on the road that year. I do remember that. It was actually in Cleveland. But the Warriors are playing great basketball. These two teams are going to enter this game Friday night with a combined record of 16-1. That's really cool. I cannot wait to be in the building Friday night. Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, I'm sure, is going to be electric. It's going to be an awesome environment for basketball because it always is, especially when there's two good teams. So that'll be a really, really cool experience. But I can't wait to see if the Cavs can keep this going. It would not surprise me if this streak ends soon because, as I mentioned earlier in the show, this was their 9th game in 15 days. Friday night will be their 10th game in 17 days. Then they play Saturday, which will be their 11th game in 18 days. And I understand that not all of the opponents have been tough, although the last 6 have been. But it's hard to play that many games close together in the NBA, especially at the start of the season, where sure, you could say, well, they're fresh because they had all summer off, and that's true, but you can't really get into game shape. You can be in shape, and the guys on the Cavs I do think are in shape, but I think game shape is different, and I don't know that you're in game shape until you play for like a month of real basketball games. The Cavs are going to hit a point here where I think unless they're going to, and listen, if they win against Golden State, they absolutely can continue this run because after that it's Brooklyn, who they have a decent record, but the Cavs are going to be heavy favorites against the Nets. The Bulls, the Sixers, which who knows who's going to be healthy. Joel Embiid is supposed to be able to play in that game next Wednesday, but who knows? And then the Bulls again. So that is a very winnable stretch of basketball games after Friday night. But we'll see what the Cavs do against the Warriors first. It'll be a very fun environment to be in. I'm sure Cavs fans are very excited to see Stephen Curry back in Cleveland, Ohio once again. But thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. As I mentioned, you can get the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, any other podcast platforms. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure they're subscribed. Also, show is available on YouTube. If you're watching this right now, hit that thumbs up button for me. Click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I'll be back tomorrow with more.